in South Yorkshire. And
Hello everyone, today I'm in Denby Dale, which is in Kirklees near Huddersfield, and of course Denby Dale is famous for its pie, world famous pies. We're talking an enormous pie, massive pie, ginormous pie, which the people of Denby Dale have baked to celebrate various occasions. And before we do anything else, I'll just take you along somewhere to have a look at something.
it's a lovely day, but this looks like a bit of a hilly region, so I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge.
Just doing a quick diversion to take you to this amazing named place, which is called, wait for it,
You cannot come to Denby Dale without going to the Pie Hall.
the Pie Hall. This is Pie Hall. I mean, in a village famous for its amazing pies, you've got to have a community centre called Pie Hall. I just love that name, Pie Hall.
This little lane's called
Anyway, let's go and do the actual ride, and I'll update you on interesting facts about the enormous Denby Dale pies, and also, of course, I'll describe the route that I'm taking today.
For those of you that don't know, Denby Dale Pie.
Now, this road is called Cookstool Road, and back in the day, the Denby Dale pie was baked at Cookstool Farmhouse, which must have been somewhere down here. I don't suppose it exists still. I mean, it wasn't baked in the farmhouse because it was too big for that. I imagine it was baked in outbuildings. But anyway, let's carry on. Denby Dale, as it suggests, is in a dip, and so that means that you have to climb up to get out of it. So I imagine there's a bit of a climb coming up.
Don't you just hear people who say that? Right.
Oops, I'm not properly warmed up, so unfortunately I'm going to have to walk this little steep bit here. But as soon as I get going, I'll tell you all about the pie. Oh, and about the route.
Oh, back down here. Oh no, another hill. So I'm not properly warmed up.
It's a fantastic day here in Denby Dale, absolutely beautiful sunshine, a lovely Friday in June, and the route I'm going to take goes obviously from Denby Dale and then it goes round in a clockwise direction, and I'm hoping to take in part of Cannon Hall grounds. Cannon Hall is famous, of course, for Cannon Hall Farm, which appears on telly quite a lot, like summer on the farm, winter on the farm, whatever, and also on the Yorkshire Vet.
I'll talk more about
The second part of the ride covers the same ground as the first half of the ride that I did to Penistone a few weeks ago, but then once we get up onto the hills we take a right and we head in a different direction.
I do like pies, but the pastry gives me really bad.
Now, the Denby Dale Pie, as I said, is world famous, and it's baked to celebrate certain occasions. The first pie was baked back in King George III's reign to celebrate his recovery, in inverted commas, from madness. Unfortunately, it was a short-lived recovery because, as many people will know, George III just descended into madness, and that's why his son became Prince Regent in his place. But anyway, the first Denby Dale Pie was baked on that occasion. But the infamous pie, the pie that I talk about, well, I don't talk about, the pie I mention in the thumbnail on this video, was in 1846, and it was baked to celebrate the repeal of the Corn Laws. I mean, the Corn Laws were really, really bad for the general public, especially the poor, because at the end of the Napoleonic Wars, markets were opened up and cheap corn could now be imported from overseas, from France, etc. And of course, cheap imported corn was undermining our own farmers, and so what the government did, they passed the Corn Laws. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, do correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my understanding, and I think I was asleep during the history lesson at school when we learnt about the Corn Laws. But anyway, the Tory government decided to ban imports of overseas corn into the UK, which meant that farmers kind of British farmers kept their price artificially high, which meant that it was very expensive to buy ingredients, and it especially affected the poor, of course. So when the Corn Laws were repealed in 1846, there was great celebration because it meant that finally corn, and I don't know if it covered wheat as well, but anyway, it was more accessible and cheaper, and people could get hold of it. And so the Denby Dale Pie was created to celebrate the occasion, and an enormous pie was baked and a big platform was set up to celebrate the cutting of the great pie, and all the local dignitaries were on this platform along with the enormous pie. And someone, I think his name was Mr. Pierce, somebody or other Pierce, it was his job to cut the pie, a bit like cutting a wedding cake. And apparently, the story goes, he was just about to cut the pie when, disaster, the platform collapsed, and the pie and all the dignitaries just went everywhere. Just everything collapsed, everything turned into chaos, and this guy who was cutting the pie unfortunately was propelled right into the middle of the pie. So I don't know if he went head first or what, and I don't know whether the pie was really hot. I doubt it, actually. I doubt whether it was boiling hot, because they probably waited quite a while everything was set up between finishing baking the pie and cutting it. But anyway, this poor bloke ended up being propelled right into the middle of the pie, and of course it's become a local legend, and the 1846 pie is a bit infamous because of this. Then there was the pie that wasn't, which would have been baked to celebrate the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. But because rationing was still in place in the UK, they couldn't get hold of the ingredients, especially the meat. And word got out, in fact, word crossed the whole world to Australia, where Australian beef farmers offered to supply the beef for the pie, so the pie could be baked to celebrate the coronation. What they did, they said to or I don't know if they said, but the idea was that the Ministry of Food or whatever it was, or meat, and I don't know, in the UK would release sufficient meat for the Denby Dale pie to be baked, and then the Australian farmers would send over the equivalent, so that could be put in storage along, for rationing. The only problem is that this happened about 3 days before the coronation, by which time it was far too late to bake the pie. I mean, it's a massive feat baking the Denby Dale pie, something you can't just do overnight. And so sadly that pie never happened. I think there's been a couple more pies, 2 or 3 more pies since then, but obviously they're not every year because this is a big undertaking. They just tend to bake the pies for specific celebrations.
But to say I fancied visiting Denby Dale.
This really is an absolutely beautiful part of the world. It is on the border of West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire, and the first half of the walk is kind of country lanes like this, beautiful greenery, etc., and the second will be climbing up onto the hills, onto the moors, and you can see the Pennines in the distance.
From his madness, before presumably he descended into madness again. I don't know why they chose a pie to celebrate. If you know, let me know in the comments below. But the pie has been baked on a handful of occasions to celebrate certain occasions. Hello. Now the infamous one was, hang on, another climb. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we did the corn laws in history at school, but I think I was asleep in the lesson. But my understanding, I think, is that in the first half of the 19th century, the corn laws were introduced by a Tory government because after the Napoleonic Wars there was a danger of cheap corn flooding into the UK, which would undermine British farmers and make life difficult for them. So the Tory government introduced a ban on all imported corn. But of course the consequences were that farmers were able to price corn at artificially high prices, which put it out of reach of poor people and the general public. It was very unpopular. And I think it was 1846 the Corn Laws were repealed. Oh, look at that view. And the people of Denby Dale decided to bake a pie to celebrate. An enormous pie. You can look online to see the amazing list of ingredients that went into it. I mean, we're talking a huge pie, monster. I don't quite know the dimensions, I'll try and find out. But anyway, the launch of the pie day came for the cutting of the pie, the official cutting of the pie by local dignitaries, and a platform was built at Denby Dale and all the dignitaries stood on the platform along with the pie. Ready to cut it. And I think it was a man called Joseph Pierce, who was the guy who was going to cut the pie, perform the pie cutting ceremony. And as I understand it, he was just about to cut the pie when dun, 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 the platform collapsed, along with all the dignitaries on it and the pie.
There are some really nice walks around here, really pretty. I did a walk last year from Cannon Hall to up through the woodlands and fields which are on the right in this video, and it was really, really nice. We did it from Cawthorne village, not from Cannon Hall car park, because you have to pay to park in Cannon Hall car park. But you can usually find some road parking in Cawthorne, and then there are various ways into the grounds of Cannon Hall from Cawthorne, and both the grounds and Cannon Hall itself are free to enter. They're owned by Barnsley Council. Quite pretty if you're in that neck of the woods. Obviously you have to pay to go to Cannon Hall Farm.
I think there were a couple more pies, and then they wanted to create a pie to celebrate the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. But because of rationing after the war, which was still on in, was it 1953? They couldn't get the meat. The Ministry of Food or whatever it was said, no, sorry, you can't have the meat. No, it's you've got to be on rations like everyone else. And word got out, and in Australia, a group of beef farmers offered to supply the meat. The way they offered to do it was to say to the British Ministry of whatever it was, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, for them to say yes, you can have the meat, and then for the meat to come over from Australia and replace that from local butchers, etc. But sadly, it only got the go-ahead 3 days before the coronation, which of course was too late. So it never happened. I think there's been a couple of pies since then, one in the 60s and I think one in the 90s, question mark. I think on a hot day like this, you probably want to eat quiche rather than pies, wouldn't you? Well, quiche is a sort of pie. Now this road surface has been as terrible as this for the past 2 years. But the entire top surface has been torn off and all we've got is the stuff underneath.
This bit is a terrible road surface. I mean, it's like the top of the surface has been completely stripped back. It's really, really, really bad, and I don't know why it's like this and why they haven't done something about it, because it's got to be one of the worst road surfaces I've ever cycled on. Bumpy, horrible.
Back on a proper surface, kind of, oh no, spoke too soon. It was really lovely here. My son and I did a walk around here, over in those woods over there. We walked from Cannon Hall, well, we walked from Cawthorne through Cannon Hall Estates, which is very pretty. And if you want to visit Cannon Hall, best to park in Cawthorne where it's free and walk down to the hall. It's free to get into the hall, it's free to get into the grounds. But if you park in the Cannon Hall car park, I think you have to pay. And I don't think Cannon Hall Farm is free, I think you've got to pay to go in there. Climbing up to a junction where we turn right. Now we enter South Yorkshire. We are quite high up here. And soon we turn, well, we kind of turn back on ourselves on the hairpin bend, on the turning right, down to Cannon Hall car park. There is a bridle way through Cannon Hall from the car park, which I'm hoping will be suitable for bikes. If not, I'll have to walk it. And when we get there, I'll tell you some interesting 20th century history about Cannon Hall. Oh great, they're resurfacing it.
Now, we were supposed to turn right here, but the road's closed, and I don't know if it's possible to walk my bike down it, but I tend to think it isn't, so might have to do a bit of a detour here, and that'll mean that we don't actually walk through Cannon Hall grounds, we cycle the long way round instead.
Okay, we can't go that way, so we're not doing Cannon Hall. Not today anyway, we'll come and do that another day.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a detour because the tarmac is boiling hot and there's nowhere to walk your bike, so maybe we'll do that in a future video, and in the meantime we'll take the detour, which isn't too bad. It's not too bad at all. This road comes out on the edge of a village called Kexborough, and from there we can cycle along a beautiful lane up to the village of Cawthorne, which is where we would have ended up had we been able to cycle down the closed road.
see the M1 over there, heading south towards Sheffield, and Barnsley is over there. You can always tell Barnsley, a bit like Harrogate in that it has a massive, tall, multi-storey building in the middle of it. Can't help but think they're probably council offices. Another nice road surface. Right, over on our left somewhere is Woolly Edge Services on the M1. And I can't remember where this comes out. I think it's at a place called Kexborough. Well, at least we're being treated to a downhill stretch. Just come off again. Windy. I think this is Kexborough. We're heading for Cawthorne. If I'm not mistaken, there's a right turn here. It is. Hello. So we didn't get to see Cannon Hall today, but we will on another ride. I'll try and devise another ride. I want to do a different ride every time on these 66 rides in my 66th year, which I really don't think, because of the weather and my mum and her problems, it's not going to happen, but I'll do as many as I can. I need to get new hood here, it keeps moving around. To cover the left shifter. Oh, we're climbing up again soon to get to Hawthorne because we've come downhill quite a lot, and that only means one thing: you're going to have to climb again. Look at this pretty little bridge. And a field of buttercups with horses in. As I said on my Penistone ride, Cawthorne is one of the prettiest villages in South Yorkshire. And this is very pretty. At Cawthorne, we join the route that we did on the Penistone ride, and we go along that route as far as, or just beyond, Birchworth Reservoir up onto the moors, and then we leave that route when we turn right. So we'll be doing that nice little route through the woodlands and the not so nice climb up from it towards Birchworth. But if you want to do flat cycling, you don't come here. Like Dartmoor or North Devon. As you can see, I've got my Garmin again, which tells me what my heart rate is doing. Currently 144. Cycle coach doesn't want me to go above 145 at the moment, because I'm still easing myself back into cycling on the road after the bad winter. I think it may just go up above that around here. Hi there. Here's Cawthorne.
Now, Cawthorne village is known as one of the prettiest villages in South Yorkshire, and it really, really is. It's gorgeous, and it's where we began the Penistone cycle ride that I did on another video. So this particular route I'm doing today picks up that route for the first few miles, and it's like the same route. It's a gorgeous route that takes us up a few climbs, then through some gorgeous woodland, beautiful woodland, and then by the side of a reservoir, and then up onto the moors, and there we turn right and we leave the route that I did to Penistone.
So sweet about this place is all the flower baskets are sponsored by, well, that one's in memory of someone. One back there was sponsored by
Cawthorne's lovely, and it has some hanging baskets from the lampposts which are sponsored by local families, local businesses, and also in memory of loved ones. And such a nice idea, just makes the place look even prettier. I do apologise for the sound quality on this video. Not only can you not hear my voice, mind you, that might be a good thing, but you can't hear any of the countryside sounds around, and it's because my original GoPro camera housing, the thing that holds it onto the harness, broke, the original GoPro part, so I got a replacement, a copy off Amazon, and although it worked, I mean, it looks the same as the other one. I think there must be something different about it that means that recording using the GoPro microphone doesn't actually work very well.
Seeing the post office back there reminds me of the ride I did the day before yesterday around Wetherby area through the village of Tockwith and the bomber crash in 1945. Found out a little bit more about it, which I'll maybe talk about later. If you want to know more about it, you can Google Stirling bomber crash Tockwith, and the newspaper The York Press has some interesting info on it. We're coming up to where we started the Penistone ride, because I was parked just up there. You can park there on the road. You can also park here when it's not too busy.
Right, that took longer than it should have done, because I bought a new housing for my GoPro camera, and the clip's only gone and broken on the first day I've used it. So there's nothing holding the camera in apart from brute force. So hopefully it'll be okay until I get back and fix it if I can. annoying thing about the housing, the waterproof housing for the GoPro camera and the replica I bought from Amazon, same problem is that the little clip that requires a bit of force to clip it on and off, to open it and close it, is plastic and prone to breaking. I got a really good metal part on eBay, which is what the design should have had in the first place, and I worked a treat on my other camera housing, so I can probably take that off, because the other one it was the hinges at the other side that broke on my other housing, so that's why I'd send off for another one. Anyway, yeah, the metal one, I'll get my husband to replace that. He's good with things like that. We turn right here, if you remember from the other ride, and then second left. There's 2 lanes that branch off here. We don't take this one, we take the one after the little cottage there. This takes us up to the village of Highland Swain, if that's how it's pronounced. No one seems to know how it's pronounced, so can only assume that it's pronounced like it's spelled. Let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. We climb steadily now, some of it not so steady. I was going to talk about the air crash, wasn't I, from the other video, the Weatherby one. The reason they think the plane crashed, which it did, it crashed just after the end of the Second World War. It was in October and the war, I think, ended in September. It was late at night, well it was about 1:15 in the morning, something like that, and bad visibility, and the plane was refused landing at the Marston Moor airfield, so I think it had to circle round, and it was in that circling round apparently that everything went wrong. My husband, who's into planes, explained why that is last night, but I can't remember why. But sadly it crashed right into the main street of Tockwith and bounced a couple of times. And everybody was killed on board, 5 crew members, or was it 6 or 7, I can't remember. Most of them were in the early 20s, which is terribly sad.
And the village postmaster was killed because the plane landed on the roof of the post office and he was asleep in the attic. Normally, apparently, he'd been sleeping. Oh, hold on. Anyway, back to the village postmaster. He was in the attic because he was airing the bedroom downstairs for his son to sleep in when he got back from the war. How terribly sad that is. Oh, it's the top of that climb.
bit more of a climb coming up. Look at this lovely old house. Typical of this neck of the woods. Those mullioned windows. Gorgeous. I'm going above the heart rate level that I'm supposed to be doing. 152. Elevation of 552 feet. Which isn't as high as some of the elevations I've done on Dartmoor. So all being well, I'll do an easier ride tomorrow and then a more demanding ride on Sunday, all being well. Still gradually climbing. This area is a good training ground for if you're going cycling down in Devon, as I hope to do at some point this year, all being well. Well with the weather and well with my mum, who still isn't too well.
Oh, nice downhill. We turn right up here by the school, if you remember, from the other ride. At the top of this climb. Up to 630 elevation, heart rate 154, speed just under 5 miles an hour, but then I don't claim to do this for speed, not that kind of cyclist. We turn right here by the school, where I shall have a drink, because it's hot. This is quite a nice lane, it's not too demanding. Right over there on the fields there's only more television mast and radio mast and phone mast and whatever. looking about heart rate on my Garmin. The medics were called in against my mum on Wednesday, because when she was in hospital on Saturday, her heart was down to 35 beats a minute, and yet on Wednesday it rocketed up to 140 per minute. Something fibrillation or something, apparently, but it's no good when you're 97 years old. I went to visit her yesterday and she was in a bad mood. She was hating the care home, hating everyone there, didn't see any point in being alive, decided she was just waiting to die, and she didn't see any point in, oh God, went on and on. It's so depressing, and you just don't know what to do, you know. I couldn't take her out because she wasn't 100%, so that's part of the reason. We're turning right here, by the way. But also because the community health team were coming in again. But I haven't heard from them, so I can only assume they either didn't or everything is okay. Anyway, my son's visiting her this afternoon. And staff members at the care home did try to cheer her up for quite a long time, actually. They were really good. Right, before too long we take a left along a lane which at the end it plunges down into that lovely woodland, and then we climb up out of it and cross the Penistone-Barnsley Railway. I don't know if you can see it, there's a good view of the Emily Moore mast with a T there. We turn left here. We've done 9.5 miles so far. I'm looking to do about between 20 and 25, no more than that at the moment, on a hilly ride. It's counterproductive, otherwise it takes longer to recover. When I do back-to-back hilly rides in Devon, I really notice it by the middle of the week. You've got to be careful. I often take a day off now in the middle of the week when I'm away. Maybe do a gentle walk or something. I know younger, faster, lighter cyclists with lighter bikes will probably think nothing of doing 30, 35, 40, 50, 60 miles a day. But not me. Bike's not made for it. Tyres, it's too heavy, and the tyres quite heavy and wide. I'm too heavy and I'm too old, and you can't go fast on lanes like this. I don't like cycling on main roads. Now then, plunging into the pretty woodland, which is as pretty as anything you get in Devon. Terrible road surface though. Oh, bump, bump. It really is. And I must take it easy because you could easily skid like I did last year on wet sand. Once bitten, twice shy. Last time I did this ride, the Penistone ride that I recorded, I just cycled past the little mini reservoir lake thing, which was a shame because there was a heron on the bank, which I could see, but I didn't stop. Don't know if I'll stop this time, but I might. It's just here, because there's a waterfall. Come on, let's stop. Let's take a look. Can you see the waterfall? I hope you can. And it's coming from this little lake up here. You see the lake. It's up on it. Doesn't look as though many people use that lake. So nice here. Anyway, onwards and upwards. You can cut off towards Denby Dale by turning right here. I've never done that, but again I might incorporate it into another ride. Wet here. I hope.
Keep riding over rocks. Slow down for the climb. Relax shoulders, relax elbows. Bit of respite before the next climb coming up. Bit of respite again. I think there's another bit of climbing after the farmhouse. Near a train. Or it might be farm machinery. Yeah, another bit of climb coming up. Not too bad. Tracks not a train, but the railway is up here. Bit more of a climb. This is why we cross the railway ahead. And the railway's down in the cutting. Right, we're nearly at the top. It wasn't too bad really, it wasn't too bad. It was better than last time I did it, a few weeks ago, so must be getting fitter. Dreaded sand. So easy to skid on it. And once you do, you've just got to go with the flow and over you go. Not good. Oh, I said it was the top, but we're not at the top yet. We're nearly at the top of this section. When we get to the road, the main road, we turn right, and then before long left into Birchworth, which is pronounced like that apparently. Don't get many opportunities to go onto the big chain ring here, but just done it for a short section here in Birchworth, where the reservoir is. And where we climb steadily for a while before heading away from the route from the Penistone ride the other week. We're going left here. Margaret, I get really nervous when I slide a bit. It takes me back to last summer. And that's another reason why you'd never rush these rides that I do. It's impossible, you'd be a lunatic. One of the many reasons. Oh, no Scarecrow Festival this time again. Trans-Pennine Trail continues up there. Very difficult or impossible to ride on a road bike, or even a bike like this, which is called an adventure bike stroke gravel bike. Gravel bike, that's what I slid on, wasn't it? Wet sand, wet gravel. When we meet the other lane, we turn left.
So we are climbing steadily now. We skirt the reservoir, which will be on our right in a moment. We briefly return to Ringbitchworth later in the ride before heading off towards Denby Dale. A bit of nice respite, flattish. This gives you a chance to recover your stamina. Climbing gently now, or not so gently. I think this is where the reservoir begins. This is the road across the dam. Water's nice and blue like it was last time. Beautiful blue.
Oh, this bit's a bit easier. Beautiful blue water on the right. It is gorgeous. It's quite low as well, surprising, considering all the rain we've had. Bit of a bumpy surface here. Yuck. Right, now we begin the proper gradual climb. Hi. heading towards 950 elevation feet. Probably reach 1,000, I imagine, before we turn off. Just checking the house with my camera because as I said, it's a bit wonky at the moment. If we can't repair it, I'll send it back to Amazon. Right at the end here we take a right and then a left. And left. Somewhere along here we leave the route we did on the other ride and head off on the right up a lane. Still climbing. Nine, 7, 8 feet. And going up. Thousand feet and climbing. Still climbing. Muzzle plains. Oh, 1,060 feet. And then there's another climb after a bit of respite. Yes. Getting a bit windy up here, not surprisingly. These are the Pennines after all. we turn right at the junction, and then we turn right again. Whereas on the Penistone ride we continued and went downhill to Victoria before climbing up to the reservoirs and Denford Bridge and down the Penistone rail track. So we'll be going in the opposite direction. We turn right here. I don't know if you can see the moors ahead. Ooh. I think this is where we turn right. It is where we turn right. I can see the moors all around. Hopefully soon we'll be at the highest point on this ride. Oh, 1174 feet and a bit of respite. Oh yes. The rewards for hill climbing. But hey, it looks like there's some more ahead. This ride takes us to the top of the terrible climb I did up from Hepworth last year, which was an absolute brutal climb. I had to walk my bike up most of it. Apparently it's notorious. But when you get to the top, it's so easy. Right, we go straight ahead at the giveaway. And then we go, well, it looks like straight on, but it's left, up to that building on the left, on top of the hill. Yes, the hill. One more hill, and I think after that it's fairly easy going, apart from I don't quite know what will happen in the run into Denby Dale, because I've not done it before. But if I was climbing up out of it, the chances are I'll be going downhill and probably climb to at the end to the road. Right, here we go. Another hill. This is the turning point on the ride. What beautiful views they must have. Oh no, something big coming down. Let's get off on that, see what it is. Well, my hay fever tablets don't seem to be working. Oh well. Oh my, a big boy that is. Bull. So down there, as it drops, it's literally like a precipice, drops down to the village of Hepworth, which is one of those Pennine villages with very, very steep lanes and houses built on different levels. And when you cycle there and you see the climb ahead, you think, oh please no, not up there. But yes, it is. So I advise don't do it unless you're a total masochist or a professional cyclist. I think the top of the climb is just up here on the left. Somewhere. I think we turn right here. Let's check. We've earned it. That time, yeah, that was about 1,200 feet, just 2 feet below. We might get the 1,200 at the top of this mini climb. .1,200 feet, but hang on, and I think that's the top. 1202. So I mean, you can get obsessed with these Garmins. So I stopped using one. Well, I stopped last summer. I just relied on the Strava, so you can't tell how many miles you've done until you get home, or how many feet. Unless of course you have that mounted up. Right, we go straight ahead here. Yes, the good thing about Strava is that it tells me when I do a ride, when I save a ride on Strava as opposed to through the Garmin app. Strava tells me I've burnt about double the number of calories, and I like that. We like Strava. Whereas the Garmin is a bit mean when it comes to calories, but then it does take into account your heart rate, doesn't it? And yes, we're onto the big chain ring. And we're level with Emily Moore TV mast over that mast over there. Oh, we've earned this wonderful, wonderful section. I love this time of year, you get a lot of poppies. Which reminds me of the war, which reminds me I never got to tell you the
World War II facts about Cannon Hall, but I'll do that when I do another ride around here. I think we're back to the Trans-Pennine Trail signs, the blue signs. We're going straight ahead again. Oh, a little bit of a hill coming up. You can see in Birchworth Reservoir down there. I never know if you can see it or not with this camera. Bit of a mini climb. Can you see the reservoir? Then we get to the road, which is the road we met after the Woodlands climb and across the railway bridge earlier on. We take a right for a while and then we go left. Potholes. We turn left here. Yes, to Upper Denby.
We take the fork to Denby Dale here. If we were to take the right-hand fork that goes the other side of the pub, the Dunkirk pub, that would join the route later on that we started out on. Should be able to see the TV mast at Henley Moor. Now I say I've never been down here, but actually I have when I did a cycle ride from Henley. Cookstool Road, which must be near the Cookstool Lane where the pies used to be made at Cookstool Farmhouse. I might have been down this road. Probably not a ride I would have done again because it had a brutal climb back up to Henley. Yuck. And this, I think, is Denby Dale. Back in Denby Dale, and on our right coming up is the Pie Hall. I'm trying to remember where I'm